So, Red Hat. So, we all know what's going on in the media at this point about Red Hat and license changes and distribution changes and all of that. And that is something I'm not going to get into. Enough people are commenting on that. But what I am going to do is, I thought in the right spirit of things, is talk a little bit about some of the distros that are based in Red Hat or contribute to Red Hat, um, as it were, because that's a bit of a different topic. And of course, going back here, back to the old days, of course, was Centos, which of course was a one-for-one build of Red Hat with all the branding removed. And of course, we all remember that eventually CentOS Linux got replaced by CentOS Stream, which of course is a upstream to Red Hat with updates and no specific point in time stop. Um, a couple of companies have moved over to using CentOS and a couple of home users as well. And it does have its benefits if you don't necessarily need to. If you happen to be on CentOS Stream 9, for example, but you don't necessarily need to worry about whether it is Red Hat 9.1 or 9.2 or 9.3, and it can just be in 9 somewhere with updates, then CentOS is not necessarily a bad choice, or should I say CentOS Stream. Um, Connected is going to use DHCP, so that's fine. Security profile, of course, if you are um, in a situation where you need additional hardening of your environment, especially for sensitive data or for government regulations. We don't need that, so I'm just going to not apply security profile here. And that's all of that. Looks good. Installation media will be local source. Installation destination automatic. Uh, Root account. So I'm gonna give this a strong password. Will it allow me to save it? Okay, it actually does. User creation. So I'm going to make this user administrator, aka an admin, and of course a strong password. Just want to check under advanced here. Okay, so I can, because I'm making them an admin, I'm adding them to the wheel group, so that's fine. AKA so that they have admin privileges. So all of this is done here. We'll start picking installation. And right now, it's going to automatically create everything it needs to. What I'm going to do is pause and come back. Okay, so we've gotten to this point where it's finished installing. Let's go to reboot system and see what. Anyway, here we have CentOS stream, and I'm going to log in, and of course, by default, it comes with GNOME. So we're not going to take a tour of this. Um, System monitor, really file usage, and resource usage is still pretty low, as you can see here. And of course, what you can also do is they usually have the more classic login as well. So if I go to GNOME Classic and I log in, gives more of a standard interface, or more of the old school GNOME or GNOME interface here. Okay, so let's see if we can do a couple of updates here. So I'm gonna do sudo dnf update. Okay, and you can see it's busy searching for updates at the moment. So let's just apply this. Apologies. Yeah, let's do that. Yes, this key is okay. Okay, and now let's go sudo dnf upgrade, refresh. That's sort of proper full apply any updates. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to install something called EPL, which is essentially additional repos or software packages that you can add to your standard installation. It stands for, if I remember correctly, extra packages for enterprise Linux. So let me show you here what we're going to do. So for example, I'm going to do sudo dnf config manager set enabled CRB repository. It's a new repository for Centos Stream that takes place of the older Power Tools subscription manager to register. Really? Do I really have to do this? Okay. Good grief, I actually have to really register this to Red Hat, surely not. I don't believe it. Surely that's one of the advantages of when you use this, is to not do that. Perhaps I'm quite out of touch here. Okay, let's actually just see this. I remember the old days you never had to do anything like that. Centos Streamline subscription register. Let's take a look. Okay, so you can just ignore it. That's very good. Don't install by default. Yeah. If you don't need it, why is this thing installed? No links. Steps reproduce. Try it. Yeah. Whole long list here. It's installed by default because it's required by packages and core. I'm actually really disappointing that it is by default installed here. This has resolved the current Centos Stream ISO subscription manager no longer installed by default. Well, yes, it is. Okay, it's now being installed by default again if the user selects server with GUI. This is due to GNOME settings, server scaling and dependency on subscription manager. That's ridiculous. The whole reason you would use something like CentOS Stream is so that you don't have to start messing around with subscription manager. As a home user, if I'm going to start messing around with getting false messages on subscription manager, then I might as well just download Red Hat and get a developer license. I mean, honestly, that's just ridiculous. Anyway, let's go ahead and install EPL for CentOS 9 Stream. Okay, let's use official documentation here quickly. Okay, so we actually did this command earlier to enable the config manager, to enable CRB. Okay, so I believe that has actually done something. This is just a false error. Centos stream. We can just okay DNF install this automatically. I go paste. Okay, so it did enable CRB. We can with just add the Centos extras. Okay, that's all installed. And this is an example of just using Elixir, which should then mean it's automatically installs here. Really disappointing to see that come up, but again, it is what it is, unfortunately. I just also want to, let's take a look through the repos in a moment. Okay, yes. Okay, yes, we accept all these keys, it's legit. And installing, at least it's still pretty fast. So that is at least helpful. Before we carry on, of course, the default software, Firefox file software, you can go to browse software, and if you go to software repositories, it will show the defaults as well as CMP that we've enabled, as well as it should also show epel, okay, default stream, extra passages CRB, and the extra packages for enterprise. Next and vendor, that's great. And if we were to go to updates now the OS has updates, which we'll restart in a second. Utility is just all the normal calculated disks, disk usage, and other, of course, settings, which will be the normal settings. And for those interested, it uses num 40.40, and the system is obviously not registered with Red Hat. Restart and install. And let's give it a couple of moments to come back up here. Okay, not too slow. Again, this type of environment, I do know that, for example, I believe Facebook uses Centos Stream, so there are obviously uses for users out there. So let's make this login. So strong password. The resolution is out. There we go. Fixed. Okay, so let's see if we can at least get something like KDE installed. So make this bigger. And let's enable it, so we would have to go sudo dnf enable repo is equal to epel-next crb group y install KDE Plasma Workspaces. Okay, so what we did here was basically tell it to use those repositories that we enabled and to install it using the full KDE Plasma group command. I'll leave some of the commands in the info of the video, but of course that we did this, so it installs the bare minimum of what's required to start up the KDE desktop on CentOS Stream 9. I know in the past when Stream 9 came out, there were quite a bit of pieces of software that had issues where this wouldn't work, but glad to see that it looks like KDE, they have fixed it up at least. Of course, you would also find additional software on epel, for example, some possibly Steam, possibly also looking at additional audio codecs as well, so you can play your favorite audio files. These are all of the type of things you can use here. Of course, Places automatically, of course, still has the base CD installed and the different options under terminal. So let this carry on there. I'm just gonna browse the software. Okay, codecs installed, nice. If we were to go to play all this other software, that it shows Lucis is there. Again, probably these days I'm a big proponent of using flatpaks at least. So really, what you could do, what is I personally think is ideal, is have your base set up with if you something enterprising like this, CentOS Stream, install epel, add the additional updates to KDE or XFCE or whatever interface you want, and when you want additional software, rather than instead of going hunting everywhere, install and enable flatpaks to get your software. It's probably going to work correctly, probably going to be better supported, and have all the additional niggly bits as well, especially something like we mentioned earlier, Steam. So let this continue here. What I'm going to do is let it install. I see it only took 2.5 minutes to download all 600 megs. Not the fastest. And essentially what I'm going to do is let this thing install. We're going to reboot it. We'll enable Flatpaks, install a piece of software from Flatpaks, and then it's all pretty much ready for everyday use. Really I know we have other distros now that have taken the place of old CentOS Linux, but I'm still quite fond of the old CentOS Linux. I guess it's something that I was just used to using. Okay, let's give this another restart. And it'll start up again in a few moments. Again, all the steps that you've seen today would be exactly the same if we had used x64. Okay, on a normal PC, not having to do it on ARM. So we're going to go here. We're going to choose Plasma. I'll just choose X11. And although we could have probably done Plasma, it probably would have worked as well. And let's just resize this quickly. There we go. We've got your full CentOS install running here. So we can just click here, make it a dark theme, and CentOS 9 stream with KDE. Okay, so We use these links here. And now let us just go to Flat Hub. These are, of course, all the additional items of software you could use. So let's say set up Flat Hub. And we're going to select a distro, Centos here. In the Flat Hub repo. So open the file there. Install it. Strong password. And Flat Hub should be installed. Or scanning. So let's say I choose document scanner. It's a Flatpak. Right. It's only available as a Flatpak. And I hit install. It's busy with its tasks. So yeah, remember that. Just because you've installed it, it also depends on your platform that you're using. Not everything is going to be supported. So just something to remember. I think I'll give you a bit of a warning by default.